Welcome to Legacy Cast, where we talk about your story, your way, and what are you doing to make sure that people know about you many generations from now. Good morning, Legacy Cast listeners. This is James Snow, your host for the program here at Legacy Cast, and I'd like to welcome my good friend Charles Mund to the program.
Hey.
Charles, a Navy veteran, and how are you doing this morning, buddy?
Doing good. I got a real quick public service announcement too. I'm still active duty. So,
sweet.
Yeah. I wasn't even sure if I told you that before, but I've been serving now for 13 years.
Outstanding.
Yeah, I'm stationed up in Washington, Bremerton area, on the USS Nimitz. So yeah, just wanted to make that clear too, real quick.
Wow, that's outstanding. I didn't actually realize that you were still serving. So thank you for still serving, buddy. That's
absolutely.
Cool. I guess you're going to shoot for the Big 20.
Yeah, that's the goal right now. And then we'll kind of see where it goes after that. See how the business does and everything.
Yeah, well, hopefully our country will get things squared away so that you'll be able to make the decision, with less guilt.
Oh yeah, never.
So obviously, as the name would apply here with the Legacy Cast program, we like to talk things, pertaining to legacies, and for a lot of people that has different meanings. Whether that's a financial legacy, as our listeners have heard, or even other legacies. It's the way I look at it is it's your way of building a story. It's you're telling your story your way, so that people behind us 1, 2, 3 or more generations will know who we were, that we lived, what mattered to us, and the things that we did to try to leave a mark. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we talk about here. And so what does for you, Charles, what does having a legacy mean to you?
Well, to me, and you kind of hit a lot already on it. That was really good. It means the future. In reality, we only have that, and it's based on what we do every day in the present, and hopefully to make it worth something to have one day. For other people to have, and with like myself, I started working on my legacy before I even knew what the hell I was doing, because my daughter was born when I was 18 years old. Mm-hmm. My first child. I have 3, by the way.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Hopefully they don't run in the room. I tried to keep them up late last night so they wouldn't come running in here. But I realized when I was 18 that was extremely important, because it wasn't about me anymore. Mm-hmm. And it was about setting her up for the most success, no matter what happens to me. I mean, that's even why now, I pay for, I think it's like $27 a month now for my SGLI, mm-hmm. the life insurance policy.
Sure.
For the military, because, it's all about what we have after we're gone. And you can only control so much. Mm-hmm. And it's based on what you do every single day. And I think that's what's important, and something that might be getting lost for a lot of people out there. So I really, really think this podcast is an awesome idea. Really do.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned the SGLI, because that's something that a lot of people, especially since a big portion of my clients and my listeners are they're both they're going to be either active or veterans, and so it's something that a lot of people they obviously when they're in the service they have it, then when they get out don't necessarily carry that over, and
mm-hmm.
It's very important to kind of look at that big picture, because that is something that yes, you're paying for, but you have to really look at that high level view of what is that going to mean for the security of your family? What is that going to take care of just in case? Because that's really what it's all about. A lot of people don't want to cover that conversation of life insurance scary, but mm-hmm. Ultimately the way I tell people is that's the ultimate I love you for your family, and mm-hmm. You kind of have to look at it in its context that it's really your way of saying I care enough about you that I want to make sure that you don't suffer if something happens to me.
Yeah,
So
I absolutely agree.
yeah, I'm certainly glad to hear that that's something that you have incorporated within your family. And I always obviously encourage people to not just do the minimum, but do as much as you possibly can within your budgetary limits, because that's really in a context what it means is we're taking all that we have, we're stewards of it, and we're trying to create something bigger. And that's one of the best ways to do it.
Yeah, I think just being active too. Sometimes people get lost in our active dutiness, if that's an actual word. We get stuck in active duty, and we never think. We sometimes don't want to think about life after the military, you know. And I think that same type of context, that same type of thought process, goes after we're out of the military. We don't want to think about what happens in the end. I think that carries over pretty much the same exact way.
Yeah, I find that we all suffer from that same 10-foot tall and bulletproof mentality as well. Yeah. It's like we're all adrenaline junkies for some level, and we're 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Nothing can hurt us, and nothing also could be further from the truth.
Yeah, no, you got it.
So obviously you feel that that's an important consideration, but now let's kind of talk about it from a business standpoint. How would you correlate that into like what you do from business decisions? The legacy idea.
Yeah, we live in such a now world. Everything is based on what I can get quickly. Right. What can I get from somebody, or what can I get through my phone, or what can I get at the drive-through? That sometimes, everything's happening so fast, we lose sight of what we're actually doing, why we're doing it, and where it's all leading to. So I think that's a huge part of what every person's business, strategy or, business plan, that's where it needs to come from. You got to be thinking down the road. Of course, you got to be thinking about now, and I'm sure I'll talk about it later, but customer satisfaction and the things that people want to have. But in the end, how is that all going to have the ripple effect years down the road? And I wanted to bring this up too because it's one of my favorite lines out of a movie. The movie Gladiator.
Right.
God, I love that movie. Not just for all the killing and the fun and the crazy shit that happens. Oh, and I do cuss because for everybody at home, I am a sailor. I'm probably not the norm. I know we got Army guys and Marines and Air Force and everybody else, but I'm in the Navy, so I cuss like a sailor. Because I am. But yeah, I don't know how many of your audience are 12 and younger, so I'm going to try and tone it down. But yeah, Gladiator is one of my most favorite fucking movies. And that line that he says in there too, what we do in life echoes in eternity. Right. And I fully fucking believe that. So, when it correlates to business, you got to be able to think, 10 years down the road. And then I think it's lost too because of how many businesses used to be from, generational businesses, stuff that was passed down. That was the legacy. So you keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Several hundred years ago, especially, look at European society, everything was done, from a multi-generational mindset that each generation would build on what was created the generation before. And, that was the impetus for everything. You added to, the family legacy, the family coffers, if you will. And so it wasn't looked at just, from a temporal, a now situation, because, you had to look at it from, many hundreds of years, because there were hundreds of years before you, and you didn't want to be the last one.
Yeah. And that's why I think, like those businesses too, were so in tuned with family. That's why people got so upset, I think, when people wanted to branch out. Like, they didn't want to be a shoemaker, or they didn't want to be a metalsmith or whatever it was. They're like, motherfucker, you're going to do this stuff because it's what we've always done. This is our thing, and this is what you're going to have for your family. So, again, it's a huge part of the business process.
Yeah. So if you were to think about your business and its future, kind of from a CEO standpoint, what would you say that the 2 or 3 things are that keep you up at night?
The first thing, and I think it's one of the most important, is customer satisfaction. I spoke to that real quickly earlier, but we get so in tune with what we're doing and how we can do things better. We sometimes forget of the other person involved in the sales process, and that's the customer. So are they getting something out of it? Are they going to be satisfied with the product that I have? And that just always needs to stay at the forefront of everybody's thought process for having a great business. Is this something that they'll like? Is this something that they'll come back and buy again? Is this something worth what they're paying for? And we got to just take that step back as, not only a CEO mindset, but, in any part of the business structure or the chain of command, however you want to look at it, you got to be able to look at them first. The other thing is brand integrity. I think that's a huge thing. You want to start out in one spot, and then you always got to change a little. You always got to develop. You always got to diversify. But is your brand intact? Is what you started doing from the beginning, is that going to be the same at the end with the same, drive that you had, with the same things that you stood for? And, and I think the last thing would be is legacy. That's why I thought this podcast was such a great idea. Again, what am I going to leave when I'm done with all of this? And that's why, even right now with Pitch and Rudder, which is the company that I'm doing, it's now tailored into something different. Like, we just started a group called Forward to Glory. It's Forged by the Mission, Forward to Glory, and that's going to be for transitioning veterans to, be able to discuss, to get together and find better ways to transition, or, help people that are getting out of the military, within the next few years. Talk to people that have been out for either, that just recently transitioned, or that have been out of the Navy or the Army, Marines for such a long period of time. And again, that legacy is so important in those customer satisfaction, brand integrity, legacy. So are you going to develop something that is going to stand the test of time? And is it going to be more than just a coin? Is it going to be more than just a belt buckle or a fucking, bobblehead? Yeah, I want that because it's monetary, but long term, that's what I want to see. So those are the things that I was thinking of.
Oh, outstanding answers. You probably went more in depth than most of my listeners or most of my guests do. That was cool.
Well, I likes to talk, Daniel. I likes to talk.
Yeah. Me too. So obviously, I guess you could say that you believe it's important that people create a strategy for themselves and their business then, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So what do you think the most common reason is that an entrepreneur fails, or just basically just give up?
My thought process goes to a couple of different things. The first thing I think of is that they forget, by either personal or professional losses, why they started. That's one of the things. It's the honeymoon phase, because coming up with an idea to bring to life and to make, money off of is such a great thing. It's like oh man, I can't wait to get started in making fucking boxes for, the homeless. This is a great idea. I'm going to do this. This is going to work. Mm-hmm. And then you get down to the nitty gritty of it, and you realize, in some ways it's not what you thought it was. It developed into something that you weren't prepared for.